Hi guys, welcome back to Affirmations. I want you all to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you know when I post. Trying to grow the YouTube channel, it would be greatly appreciated. I want to thank my day one subscribers and all you who are passing through. Okay, and I got me a torch because my other lighter went out, so I'm gonna see how this goes. For those of you that are new, I normally will light Palo Santo. Again, whenever we are dealing with the topic of healing, kind of like churches as well as temples, sometimes they will light candles and incense, right? And so we also can do that as well, okay? Whenever we are healing, it is spiritual in nature. Wishing everyone mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical health, okay? Also, too, for those of you that are new, we always start off with our saying, death and life is in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Have you been feeding yourself fresh or rotten fruit? Always one to mind the self talk that you do with yourself as well as what you speak about others. Okay. Sometimes if we're lying or being malicious on other people, it can activate reap what you sow, and we don't want that. Okay. Let's see. Um, Today we're using the DBT deck. Okay, I will have this in the description box. This stands for dialectical behavioral therapy. And this is a therapy that is used for people that have dealt with what they call complex post traumatic stress disorder, um, as well as people with personality disorders as well, but also too for trauma. Okay. And as I always say, there's no group of people that have dealt with more trauma than our people. Okay. All right. I had something that jumped out. Let's see, what do we get? We got opposite to emotion for anger. I don't know why I'm thinking we got this before, but it reads opposite to emotion for anger. Okay. And this is a concept that we've talked about before. It says anger causes us to go on the attack, resist the urge by avoiding the person you are angry with until your anger calms. Now, we've talked about this before. I think it was in another card, but this is a different angle. This is another tip that they're giving, right? Avoid the people that you're angry with. But again, I always have to make it specific to our people. One of the things in slavery is that we were not allowed to have feelings or express them, right? So we were used to dealing with high levels of abuse and not allowed to show our anger or frustration. Okay. And so it kind of reminds me of, again, our church services were supervisors. So they overly drilled forgive your enemy. If you can imagine, they needed us to focus on that one, right? So forgive your enemy, hurry up, right? That means you're not allowed to sit with your anger, even to have it. And it also could trigger more abuse if you express your anger. So again, how does that play it out today? Sometimes throughout the generations, what's happening is that we are not allowed to express our anger. Uh, Now, what's interesting is, especially when you talk about relationship dynamics, it gets a little complicated, because again, sometimes what has happened is they've kind of really pushed and again misinterpreted Bible scriptures and things of this nature, the oppression of people, especially women. And so this not being able to be angry in relationships, people will say, turn the other cheek, right? So understand that scriptures are relevant in certain situations. However, there's something called righteous anger, and we're allowed to have that. But again, because in slavery we were not allowed to express that, that's still going on in our relationships with our family, within our intimate relationships, and even with children with parents, right? And so even though children, uh adults have authority over them, technically they have a right to their anger as well, even though they may have to express it in a more respectful way. So this is a tricky one, right? Because we have been taught, and a lot of times, even when we want to take a time out, like some people again have taken on that master role to where they won't allow you to not be in their presence, right? I need you to act like you're okay so I can feel better. So we have to ask ourselves, are we doing that? Are we forcing ourselves around people who we've upset, or there's some tension, they've asked for a little break and we're forcing them around us because it's pissing us off that they're taking too long to get over their frustration or anger, right? And so we always want to remember the concept that everyone has free will. Are we going to allow people to have the right to be angry with us? Can we be okay with that and come around us when they're ready? It says address situations that feed anger only when you are in your wise mind, right? So we have to take a break in order to collect ourselves. And then some people, when you approach them, it doesn't matter if you're calm or not. Some people literally are seeking that argument. And so you do have to be in your wise mind to understand, is this a person that is about peace and wants resolution, or is this person that just wants to argue? Because that's a thing as well that's been passed down in slavery. Again, part of the abuse is emotional abuse and enjoying inflicting pain on others, right? It's the sadistic behavior, getting off on seeing people uncomfortable, even if it is not full physical abuse, even emotionally seeing them tormented. Okay. It says if you struggle with ongoing frustration and anger, counteract those emotions by choosing to be actively nice towards other people. So, again, warning us, do not take our anger out on other people. Because what will happen is we'll have someone that we're overwhelmed with that's treating us rude. We're angry. We can't express our anger there. So what happens is we take it out in other places. So we need to be very clear about what's going on so we don't then take that same energy and pass it on to someone else. Okay. So this is a good one. Okay. Let's see. We're going to end with a affirmation card. This one right here I will put in the description box as well. In hindsight is the affirmation deck. Okay, and this is one that my daughter had got for me. I really like this one. So we're going to see what we get. Yeah, so our anger. How are we handling our anger? And also, too, watching out for us, trying to work on also not feeling guilty about being angry, right? So when we're angry, we need to be able to quietly remind ourselves it is a normal reaction and response that we have been given as humans. We're allowed to have anger, right? And we need to figure out what we need to do in order to recuperate. And sometimes speaking to someone to try to resolve it, they may not want that. They may want to stay in that energy of anger. And also, too, one of the things that, research has kind of shown as well is that some people actually love, if you notice, you'll say, why is some connections where there's always some tension and anger? And what they found in research is that there's a connection with some people, okay, where the same physical sensations they get when they're in conflict is the same sensations they get when they're sexually aroused. So it's almost like when you see sometimes in connections that you're in, if it's a sustained tension all the time, this is a person that's figured out a way to maintain a sustained level of that type of physical sensation of arousal. And so I know it sounds strange, right? But understand in slavery, we would have to perform sexual acts as well as, be kind or be nurturing to people who just got through abusing us. And, some people, they actually prefer having those type of intimate type of connections when someone is under distress. Yeah. And so that's something we have to be aware of. Okay, inhale, exhale. Sometimes we do discuss topics that can be triggering. If you find yourself feeling emotional, even frustrated by what's being talked about, it's a possibility that you may be struggling with that topic, okay? And so that's something you want to think about as far as counseling, okay? Let's see. So I've been shuffling. I'm just going to pull. Okay, so we got, it's better to be felt and not just seen. This is an interesting artistic card. It's better to be felt and not just seen. Let's see what it's talking about. It says, in a world where everybody wants to be seen, it's truly better to be felt. Root yourself today in the true you, the authentic you. Focus on the spirit, not just the surface. So that's interesting. Yeah. So being seen, everybody has a need for that. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's a problem if you're being seen and doing things that is not authentic to yourself, that you're doing things to fit in, that you're doing things that's even abusive to others or yourself just to be seen. Okay. And it's more of a challenge to be yourself. Yeah, root yourself today in the true you, the authentic you. Want you to focus on, you know, really looking at people and not just looking at the outside surface. You know, is this someone that I have to put on airs for? Is this someone that I have to pretend in order to be accepted or loved? Okay. How far will you go for attention? And then the challenge of, what are some appropriate ways that I can get attention? And so journal about that. Okay. So this was a good one today. I want to thank you all for joining me. I want you to look in the description box for information on how to contact me for a session or for your yearly mental health checkup. I'm encouraging that, or we want to start that where we check in with ourselves mentally each year. And also, sometimes also look in the community tab or post, because sometimes I'm posting videos there as well and information. But I'm going to end with our statement: everyone has a right to heal from trauma in privacy and without judgment, right? Even a race nation. And until next time, bye.